Hello and welcome to another TNC opposition preview. Last time out, it was a heavy, horrendous loss at Stamford Bridge away to Chelsea. Up next, it's time to see whether we've got what it takes to finally get a win against fellow Premier League strugglers. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Leeds United. And who better to give us all the latest Leeds insights than huge Leeds fan and fellow content creator. You'll all recognise this guy. He's been on the channel multiple times before. Conor McGilligan of One Leeds fan channel. Conor, let's kick things off. How is the mood at Ellen Road right now?
It's a good question, mate. Thanks for having me on, by the way. Hello, Norwich City fans, and I'm sure there are a lot of Leeds fans here as well. Listen, it's an interesting mood, Chris. It really is. It's almost a bit of an acceptance at the minute that some of our key players have been out, 7 different centre-back combinations, which doesn't help with a thin squad. Patrick Bamford, your favourite person, out, which has been a huge problem for Leeds at this moment in time in terms of how we play, how we press. So it's a little bit disjointed, a 9th place finish. We're all of the mindset that, this second season syndrome is a load of rubbish. I'm struggling a little bit with that at the minute, but yeah, I'm still sort of on that mindset. I think it is a load of rubbish, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think this game is huge. It's a massive game for Leeds and obviously for Norwich. So overall, mate, the mindset is a little bit dejected, but I think there's a little bit of an acceptance there that some of our star players are out, which obviously affects the cohesive nature of our side, which cohesion in this Leeds United side is massive because the system is more important than the individuals.
Just one win for you boys this season and a draw last time out to Wolves. Rodrigo saved the day with a last gasp penalty. How does that affect things going to this clash against Norwich at Carrow Road, Conor?
Yeah, I almost wish that we didn't have the Arsenal game last night. Obviously, we played Arsenal, lost 2-0, and we played a decent team. Calvin was in there. Llorente was in there, Rodrigo was in there, so we had a decent side out. And if anything, I would rather that be rubbish. So I don't know about you, Chris, but the cup competitions, don't get me wrong, it's a nice thought, but clubs like Leeds and Norwich, for me, are not going to win the cup, and it's a harsh reality. But overall, I don't think we are. So that game, I wish wasn't there, and we could have just taken the momentum from the Wolves game. Leeds by far the better side against the team who've won 3 on the bounce, 4 out of 5. A whole host of world-class players, and we had once again a ravaged squad. So pulling that together, we had a couple of seriously impressive debuts as well for some of our youngsters, which I think it could be the best breakout cohort of youngsters we've had since Smith, Woodgate, Kuehl. So that's massively positive, and I think a lot of them could feature against Norwich. So that is massively beneficial, and I think the Wolves result has helped us all. I thought we'd lose that game, but getting a draw against Wolves, Chris, I think both teams would take that, wouldn't we? Going into a game against Wolves, good side. So yeah, positive, I think.
It depends. If we're at Carrow Road, I would still be like, come on, let's get a win. But as you say, a draw on reflection, given who they've got in their squad, the money they've spent,
you need to get rid of those championship expectations, mate.
Exactly. Welcome to the TNC podcast, mate. It's been drilled into us all season long and beyond that as well. Conor, is it possible for Norwich to hurt Leeds? Because, well, obviously Arsenal did it. It's really interesting because obviously Bielsa has gone, well, I'm going to play a pretty strong team in the cup to try and boost morale, get a win away at Arsenal. That'll be a really, really big win for us. Didn't achieve that. Can Norwich hurt you in the same way that Arsenal did?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, any team can hurt Leeds. I think I've said this before on my show as well, that every single team really with Leeds, especially this season, has a 20-25 minute period. They will always have that against Leeds United. So it's whether or not you can capitalise on that. That's the big question. And for any opposition, you play your Chelsea's, your Man United's, your Liverpool's. You look in those sort of. We've played Liverpool this season. We played Manchester United, and within those spells, they've really, really hurt us because of just their raw quality. But overall, yes, Norwich can hurt Leeds. I think the man-for-man system massively aids that. And just naturally the fact that if we have players out of this system, if we have players out of the starting 11, Leeds are threadbare. We're a threadbare squad. So last season, there was momentum, which I've always been interested to, you'll probably shed a little bit of light on this, why Norwich have not been able to sustain that momentum, because in the Championship, especially in 2019, you were such a phenomenal side. But Leeds sustained that momentum. And last season, and it's that first season thing where you go up, you do very, very well, like we've seen with Brentford, we've seen with Sheffield United. And that second season, we're seeing it teeter off a little bit. And this is where a lot of the questions are being sort of posed, this Leeds United side. But yeah, Norwich will definitely have a period against Leeds, and it's whether or not you take your chances.
That's interesting, Conor. Now, normally you come on this channel kind of fighting, throwing right hooks, left hooks, jabs, just everywhere. You're always trying to get a punch in, but you really are deflated about this Leeds side, aren't you, Conor?
Yeah, I think so. Just at the minute, I think because, Chris, we were in the doldrums for 16 years. I mean, if you're looking at Norwich City, for example, so many promotions, relegations on top of that, of course, but the revenue stream you guys were able to gain from that, maybe help with players, move players on, buy players in, facilities around the stadium. Leeds were a nothingness for 16 years, and we got a little bit of investment. We didn't do much. Marcelo Bielsa was the catalyst for all of it. We got it by improving players, and you look at players like Stuart Dallas, a mediocre Championship player, Luke Ayling, mediocre Championship, Liam Cooper, exactly on that same spectrum, really. So these players, the question is, how far can they go now? Are they able to sustain another Premier League campaign where, for me, this is the best Premier League there has ever been? And even the teams in and around Leeds now, the relegation spots, they're still good teams, good caliber teams in comparison to Leeds. So, as I said at the start, Chris, it's all about a system-based thing. And if that system isn't working, which I don't think it is at this moment in time, in terms of Leeds pressing, which I'm sure you can say similar vibes with Norwich, really, defensively strong. As soon as that system breaks down with those sort of players, that's a bit of a problem.
I think there's a few good points in there, mate. I think you're right. The gap is getting bigger and bigger, and we could have a whole show on just the money and just everything is ridiculous. Even your ownership versus ours is ridiculous. The gap for Norwich is so big. So it's fascinating to hear that from a Leeds perspective, because if the gap is big for you, I can assure you, mate, it's even bigger for us. But on that note about those so-called Championship players that you've got in your squad and how far you think they can go, what's the ambition for Leeds this season? In all honesty, Conor, if you hold your hands up and say, what is the ambition? Is it now survival at all costs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know with you. I mean, if you're looking at a 3-4 year projection for Norwich City, I mean, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on what you'd want. I mean, would you take 17th every single year? I think you'd be mad if you wouldn't, really. And I think that's the thing with Leeds fans. You finish 9th, Chris, and the expectation naturally, especially with, and I hate coming on here and saying with a club like Leeds, but it just is. Leeds are a big club. We are a big club, and it is one of those things where, naturally, if you finish 7th, you finished 8th, 9th, whatever, your expectations are going to rise. And that's what's happened with Leeds fans. But I think you've got to take a step back. I think now in the modern era, you're not able to get to that next level, which is interesting, with a small squad. That is not going to happen. There are too many competitions. There are too many elite players in these competitions for us to sustain that. The FA Cup, the League Cup, the Europa League, which some Leeds fans seem to think that we're able to get into this year still. So yeah, I think renovation of squads, mate, is absolutely key. Every single you've got it to be able to sustain a top 9, 8, 7 finish. It's got to be 100 plus million every single year. So if you're asking me a direct question, what is the expectation for me? It's consolidation for the next 2-3 years. If we finish 17th in a decent cup run for the next 2 or 3 years, Chris, I'll be absolutely happy with that. As long as we have the long-term ambition of maybe getting into Europe. You know, that's because that's what football's all about. That's what the Super League completely dampened, wasn't it? It's the fact that we were never going to achieve this. This is a Leeds fan, a Norwich fan, get to that next level, and having that vision is definitely something we want to get to as fans. But in the short term, it's just got to be staying in this division because as you've just said, mate, the difference now. I look at it even in a year, and I'd love to hear what. And obviously, you'll be on my channel doing the opposition preview. But in terms of 2019, when you came up, and right now the difference, I think the level is just gone again. So yeah, consolidation, mate.
Mate, I'm laughing. I'm laughing to myself because I remember when and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but it's just the stark reality of the Premier League, particularly for a club that's been in the Championship for such a long time. Clubs don't get it. And you came on our channel and you were giving it large, Bamford this, Bamford that, European places. Well, win the league, why not? You know, you were basically all in. You were all in. And now you're like, shit, this is a beast that you literally it's just so hard. It really is a really tough league. So I mean that respectfully. It's fascinating to listen to you on this channel, even just last time I spoke to you before the game in the Championship, or even the TNC watch along that did the 24-hour show. You were so upbeat, and now as a Leeds fan, you're like, oh shit, this is the real Premier League. So I thought I'd just make a point of that to make fun of you, really. Let's talk about the players that are in form. You've mentioned the youngsters there, Conor. Is there any particular youngster we should be looking out for at Carrow Road, or is there another player that we should be aware of that's perhaps not Rafinha?
Yeah, we've got a lad called Joe Gelhardt at the minute. He is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. There were 18 clubs in for him, but because of this career path that we give our youngsters, it's a massive attraction. We've got Lewis Bate from Chelsea, Chelsea's under-18 captain. Chelsea offered him a new contract. Leeds have been managed to acquire his services, but Joe Gelhardt's been getting closer and closer to the Leeds setup. There's been a lot of Wayne Rooney comparisons. An absolute brute of a centre forward who's got a stunning left foot. He won as the penalty at the weekend. His impact was huge. Came on the pitch, driving so direct towards the Wolves defence. Didn't know what to do with him. And he is a serious talent. Leeds have picked him up for $1 million. And I think he's going to start up front at the weekend with maybe Rodrigo in a free role. If he does start, that is what all Leeds fans want, because unfortunately we've got too many players who are, in my opinion, buying a living really, like Tyler Roberts and players who are just they're expecting that shirt every single week and with no competition. And Matthias Klick's not been able to get to that next level as well at this period, well, the second season. But Joe Gelhardt, we've got a player right back who we got from Fulham when they went down called Cody Drame, who is a real talent as well. We've just got our youth setup.
What's the setup? Sorry to interrupt you there, Conor. What's the setup then with these players? Like, do you think that Bielsa will go full blast at Carrow Road, or do you think he'll be cautiously optimistic and kind of set his stall quite strict and firm?
Yeah, I mean, with the likes of Luke Ayling being out and Patrick Bamford being out, there's definitely more room for the youngsters coming in. But I think Leeds fans have full trust in the youngsters. You know, Chris, when you bring through youngsters and you're like, well, we don't want to rush them in too much, but they've proven it. Cody Drame was arguably the man of the match against Arsenal last night, only 19 years of age, aggressive. And Joe Gelhardt looks like he's on a different level. And if we don't keep him, then he's going to go for a lot of money. So yeah, there are definitely players that can influence it. I would look at a player who I think is going to be starting up front for us called Joe Gelhardt, and I think he's going to. Yeah, there's going to if there's anybody to come up against and make your impact against that sort of defence, it is Norwich. So yeah, Joe Gelhardt is the big one, I think, mate.
Mate, I must admit,
14 minutes in, it's the first jive.
No, I must admit, I don't. I, as a Norwich fan, don't worry about blooding in youngsters. I've got full confidence in youngsters, and that is one thing that, you know, Daniel Farker and Stuart Webber, I tip my hat to them. I really do. The way that they blooded in youngsters, you know, the Norwich fans have, you know, on the whole got behind them. Of course, now things are going a little bit south. It can naturally get more challenging. But to be honest with you, that's probably a new thing for Leeds, but I'm not particularly worried about blooding in youngsters from a Norwich City point of view. Conor, I do want to zoom in on one player, Rafinha, and the reason why I want to zoom in on him is because are you worried that a player like that is going to leave in January if things keep going the way they are? Because from a Norwich City perspective, there's been rumours in the press this week about Giannoulis, aka the Emperor of Norfolk, who could potentially be off. He was already, sniffing around Roma before he came to Carrow Road. I'm now getting worried from a Norwich perspective that our top talent will go in January. Do you have that sort of fear with a player like Rafinha, or do you think he's definitely Leeds for the season?
Quick one. Wasn't he one of the top players in Europe last season?
Oh, Giannoulis?
Yeah.
In what respect? Was he?
He was being spoken about as if he was one of the top players in Europe. I'm pretty sure this was a huge thing.
Oh, I think, he was playing in the Championship, obviously, for us. I think where you might have got that is he was touted with clubs, the top clubs in Europe. I think you might have thought that perhaps. But right, okay. In terms of stats, they were probably up there last season. And he's in and out of the team at the moment for Norwich, which is where I think.
So, Chris, what? Why is he in and out of the team then? Is he not being given a chance? Is someone else in his place going on?
Mate, just honestly, we don't have the time for me to go down that avenue.
I'll tell you what. I'll answer on Rafinha. I'm really. We'll explore that on mine, mate. We'll explore that on mine. But yeah, with regards to Rafinha, Chris, to be honest, he is. How old are you, Chris?
28.
28. With the exact same. Do you remember Harry Kewell in his prime at Leeds United? Do you remember Harry?
Oh Kewell? Yeah. Oh, good old Harry.
Right. He is Rafinha.
Is he as good as Bamford? Is he as good as Bamford?
Is he as good as Bamford? I don't know if he's sarcastic there. Rafinha is the best player I've ever seen in the Leeds United shirt. I'm 28 as well.
He's class.
He is phenomenal. He's ended Gary Cahill's career twice. He is. I mean, that's not the staple of his progression there, Chris. That's just a little bit of it. But he's gone away with Brazil. He is stood out in front of Neymar. He just completely devastated. The Brazilians are all talking about him now. He destroyed Uruguay. It's difficult to describe it really, Chris, because he is almost like we were just talking about the Championship players there. You talk about the Dallas, the Luke Aylings, your Liam Coopers, who unfortunately, I mean, you've noticed a big decrease and a regression in the performance. But then you've just got this little bright star who is just. He's a freak, Chris. He's a freak. I was on Red Men TV not long ago, and I mentioned him being world class, and they sort of laughed at me. And I said, laugh at me at 6 months' time. Laugh at me. He goes away with Brazil, and then everybody's calling him world class. It's because he's at Leeds, Chris. It's because he's playing for Leeds.
I disagree with that. I think that's disrespectful. I think Rafinha is world class, and let us know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with Conor's statement on that. Yeah, no, I think he is, mate. I think he's top drawer. And actually, some of the noises and sounds and comments that you're making there are what we felt towards Emi Buendia. And that's why I'm just thinking, mate, I think if Leeds keep losing games, you've got to be seriously worried. Because as you say,
Chris, Champions League, there is no way he should be at this level. He should not be fighting it out. And you could see it, there was a point. And I feel you might get this as well, but with I guess you go lower ebb teams at the minute. It's all about decision making, and when you get into these massive situations, against Wolves, Jack Harrison went through on goal, and instead Rafinha's screaming for it at the penalty on the penalty spot, screaming for it. And you just know when he's away with the national side, Neymar's going to square it to him. He's going to put it in the bottom corner. Jack Harrison elects to smash the ball into the crowd. Obviously, he's aiming for the goal, but it's just. It is the focus, it's the decision making, and there are levels to that as well as quality. And I think it was the first time at the weekend where you saw Rafinha sort of flail his arms across because you naturally get frustrated with it, wouldn't you, Chris?
So Conor, you keep dodging the question. I think it's because you don't want to. Come on, do you think seriously if things don't pick up, could he leave in January?
No, I'm going to go with no in January because I don't think there's a lot of big bucks spent in January anyway. But the summer, 100% he's going. We're not keeping hold of him, 100%. No, it's 100%, mate. We could finish 10th and it's not good enough for him because he's a top 2-3 player in any league. So yeah, he's going. But then again, Chris, if you've got 80 million for him, you know he's only 24. So if you've got 80 million for him, I mean you're well in, aren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's get onto this game, Conor. What everyone wants to talk about or not in our cases, probably. There's a lot of pressure on this game from a Leeds perspective. There's probably even more pressure on this game from a Norwich City perspective. Are you thinking this is going to be cagey? What does this game mean for Leeds United?
You've obviously forgotten who you're playing there, Chris. KG, I don't think has been a game which Leeds United have played in the last 3-4 years, to be honest with you. And that's why I said there's going to be 20-25 minutes where you have a spell, because it's going to be hell for leather, gung-ho, end-to-end basketball match, which keeps getting phrased every single time Leeds play this season and last season. It's going to be, if you're a neutral watching Leeds and a game Leeds are involved in, you're absolutely loving it. And I'd love to watch a team like Leeds if I didn't frigging support them. Yeah, it's going to be. The fascinating thing is, and we'll get onto it, and obviously on mine. But yeah, how Norwich played. But with regards to Leeds, we're just going to go for it, mate. We're going to go for it, and it's going to be whether or not Norwich can sustain that. I know it's going to be a defensive thing, but Rafinha's been cleared to play, which is good for us. And Llorente's back and fully fit as well. So we don't have Bamford up there, which I think he's massive in the pressing system. But I think someone like Gelhardt, if he's coming in, is going to be big for Leeds. But I think it's going to be end-to-end, mate.
Can I just say, for the people that don't know and haven't watched Conor on this channel before, we've had a bit of toing and throwing on Patrick Bamford. I said before Leeds' Premier League season that he was rubbish, and he absolutely smashed it. And now he's hanging around with the England players, and I'm happy to be proved wrong.
No, you're not.
But he was rubbish for Norwich. He was so rubbish. Conor, maybe a time for you to throw some punches at Norwich now. Do you think that we sort this out? Do you think that we can survive?
I'm almost more positive about Norwich because obviously, me and you talk a lot, and I'd say we're decent mates. And I think me and you talk a lot about Norwich, and I've watched Norwich because of you guys as well. I'll try as much as I can just to watch you and try understand Norwich as well. And obviously, we're in and around you guys as well. But what I understood with Norwich when he came up last season was an ideology, an identity. I got it. You were a pressing side, possession-based, aggressive, and you were a nightmare to play against. What I look at with Norwich now is, I don't get it. You were defensive side because you can't defend. Are you a counter-attacking side? I don't get it. I don't get Norwich. So that would be really interesting to sort of understand the blueprint of the Canaries. But and I think that's a real problem in the Premier League, mate, because I think right now, if we beat you, we've still got world-class players in our side, and this could be a bit of a springboard for Leeds this season. With Norwich, you beat Leeds, and you're still going to lose the next week and the week after and the week after that. Like, I don't see it. You'll get 3 points against Leeds, but it's not going to be enough. Like, I don't get it. There has to be an identity there. And with Norwich at this moment in time, I don't see it. You've had a period now. You're going into a real spell of 3 or 4 games against winnable sides. I think you could have sacked the guy and got a decent manager in and gone for it. That's what I think should have happened, but it hasn't happened, and you roll with the punches. Sorry, mate, but yeah, I don't know.
No, I appreciate that opinion. It's a few home truths that a lot of Norwich fans will be saying, yes, Conor, you're right. They'll be agreeing with you. They'll be screaming at their phone or however they're watching this right now, going, Conor, you bang on the money. And it's fascinating to hear that. Your comments about identity, we don't know anymore. It's gone. It's lost. We don't know what we are. And what's also interesting, Conor, as you mentioned, if we beat you guys, is it paper over cracks? And maybe we're already at that stage. But I'm trying to stay optimistic and say we beat Leeds at home, first win the season. We've then got some winnable games in I say winnable, as much of a winnable game as you can get in the Premier League. So fingers blooming crossed. Conor, I ask everyone that comes on this question, and I know that we are an absolute shit show at the moment, but can you please tell me, if you had to sign a Norwich player for Leeds, who'd you sign and why?
I'd have Kenny McLean.
Really?
I'd have the mayor of Norwich. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. I really like him in that midfield. I think he's technically gifted as well. He's aggressive. And I think he's really good in the transition, which would be good for Leeds. And I think Bielsa would make him into some player. Yeah, and I think fitness-wise, he'd fit into our side. I think he's an absolute dog. And I think that's what you need in every single Premier League side. Didn't expect that.
No, I didn't at all. It's so interesting. And he's well, firstly, because no one has ever said Kenny. Secondly, because he's getting a lot of stick from Norwich fans at the moment. And it's interesting you say a manager like Bielsa could make him into an even better player, which again is hinting at a certain factor around Norwich City Football Club at the moment. So interesting comments. Kenny McLean, there you go. And by the way, I say that out. I mean, I love Kenny. I love him. And I agree. I think under the right management in the right role, I think he could thrive. I really do. But maybe that's an unpopular opinion. Let me know in the comment section. Conor, last time at Carrow Road, would you believe, it was 3-0 to you. It was back in the Championship. You destroyed us. And I went on camera afterwards and I was in a bad way. And I was saying, I'm not sure how Norwich are going to get
just going to interrupt. Were you in a bad way because of Leeds United or Pontus Jansson? What was it?
Both. Both. I can tell you that for free. Oh, Pontus Jansson. Don't know how to push my buttons, don't you? Don't start talking about that bloke on this podcast. Anyway, Leeds United beat us 3-0. You tore us apart, but it kickstarted our season and we won the league as arguably a consequence. It was a wake-up call. Todd Cantwell came on the podcast and said that Leeds game was the moment that we woke up, smelt the coffee and started playing. And perhaps they'll be aiming for that this time. But Conor, I wanted to ask you, what are your memories of that game at Carrow Road?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. It was when obviously Bielsa first started, and we'd beaten. You'll remember that season Stoke, who were tipped to go up with record points. Benicophobe, Nick Powell, just an array of talent in that side. We battered Stoke 3-1. And then we beat Derby away, which is always sweet, Chris. We can't stand that. So we beat them 4-1 away, and they're always around the top six. And then Norwich was the litmus test. It really was. It always is. Well, Leeds have got a horrible record at Carrow Road. So going down there was the litmus test, and I know. And Leeds blew Norwich away that game. I mean, Carrow Road, yeah, but I also remember the game at Ellen Road where I was at, yeah. And then this is the weird thing, it's because that's the Norwich side I remember. You battered us that game, but it was a weird one because throughout the season, obviously, we hammered you at Carrow Road and you hammered us at Ellen Road. So yeah, it was really interesting. But my memory is sunny day and Leeds just absolutely tore apart. I think the goalkeeper had an absolute howler as well for Alioski's goal. Absolutely, was it Tim Krul? Yeah. We talk about Pontus Jansson being the attention seeker. Let's touch on this guy, Mr. Penalty Merchant, with his hands in the air. Mr. Norwich. There we go.
Hey, mate, Tim Krul from Penalties. You're not slagging off Tim Krul.
Just annoys me, man. He's a passion merchant. You know what I mean? That's what he is.
I love a bit of passion. Mate, you've said there, it was so easy for you at Carrow Road. It was so easy for us at Ellen Road. And by the way, it was so easy for us at Ellen Road, might I just say. So therefore, heading into the crunch time of this conversation now, and actually just to review this before we go into it, head-to-head between the clubs is actually fairly even. We've won 20 games. You've won 23. We've drawn 16 times. So what's your score prediction, Conor? First of all, what's your head saying and what's your heart saying?
Head 3-0 Leeds. Heart.
Head 3-0 Leeds. Head 3-0 Leeds.
I'm glad you picked up on that. Let's go rotation. It was my heart that was saying 3-0. Heart's 3-0. My head is saying 1-1. Yeah, Chris, I'd be fuming. I'd be absolutely raging with that. But I think, yeah, we're not on form at all at the minute. You guys are not either. I think you'll be well up for it as well. You and Jack in the Barclays, so we go in. You'll really rev up the atmosphere. Yeah, mate, I can see it being a 1-1. I really can. What about yourself? What about yourself?
It's always interesting because in our Chelsea preview, Eunice came on and actually said it's going to be 5-0 to Chelsea, and then they went +7.
He's been a bit negative there, wasn't he? He's been a bit
So
negative.
there you go. And look, I think I agree with you regarding your 1-1 prediction. That's what my head is saying. Also, my heart is saying 1-1, and I'm trying to change what I do. I'm trying to change what I do. I'm trying to mix it up. You know, I pumped out the old Albert Einstein quote on Twitter last week. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and making the same mistakes, that's the definition of insanity. For example, this week I'm wearing the Irish Messi T-shirt, mate. I'm mixing up. I'm trying to do all sorts of things. I'm going to wear different socks, different pants, just anything to try and make a change at Carrow Road on Saturday. So there you go, Conor. Thank you so much for coming on, as always, mate. Top man. Always love talking to you, and really appreciate your time.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Loved it. Anytime. Let's play every week.
No, thank you. Thanks as always for everyone watching. If you've enjoyed Conor's insights, give this video a massive thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Get involved in the conversation on social media at TalkNorwichCity. Feel free to give us your questions. I'm sure Conor will give you some banter backwards and forwards as well. And hopefully the next time I talk to you lovely lot will be after we finally get 3 points.